Welcome back to Culture English, where Korean culture meets English learning. Let's dive in.
Okay, imagine this. One of the world's absolute top museums, ranked right up there with the Louvre, the Met. But it's completely free to get in. And get this, in 2023, it pulled in millions of visitors, with a huge jump in international tourists. You're probably thinking, wait, how is that even possible?
Yeah, it really does sound like something else, doesn't it? Especially when you think about, the ticket prices at those other places. The Louvre's going to cost you around 22 euros. The Met, what, 30 US dollars?
Exactly. And that difference, that's kind of the starting point for our deep dive today. We're going to explore the really fascinating world of Korean museums. We got a whole stack of sources here, reflections from a Louvre curator, studies on why people visit, articles on places like Museum Kunchikan.
Right. And our mission really is to unpack what makes these places tick. Why are they so popular, especially with foreigners? And what's the sort of unique philosophy behind it all?
So whether you're maybe planning a trip or you're just curious about cultural trends globally, or maybe you just want that kind of aha moment, well, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to show you how a whole country's approach to its heritage can create this really captivating and open experience for pretty much everyone.
Definitely. It's a great story.
Okay, so let's jump right into the National Museum of Korea, the NMK. Because the numbers alone are, well, pretty astounding. 2023, sixth busiest museum globally, number one in Asia, 4.2 million visitors.
4.2 million.
And like we said, zero entry fee, completely free.
That figure is just, well, it's mind-boggling. And it really sets up Clara's experience nicely. She's this Louvre curator, right? 15 years there. And she came to Korea a bit skeptical, thinking, Asian museums, what's there really to see?
Okay, so a bit of preconceived notions there.
Absolutely. But the NMK just completely shattered them. She was apparently shocked, first, by the scale. 90,000 pyong. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like over 3 million square feet.
What?
And it's modern, purpose-built. Not like the Louvre, which is, this incredible but converted 600-year-old palace. Very different feel.
Right, right. So it's not just the numbers or the size. What's the core idea driving this free access, this openness? What did the director, Jin Hong-woo, say?
Ah, yes, Director Jin. He put it really beautifully, I think. He said, culture should be like air. Everyone should be able to breathe it freely.
Like air.
Yeah. And he added, the moment you sell it, it becomes a commodity. And that just fundamentally clashes with the paid entry model we see almost everywhere else, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a totally different mindset. So, okay, it's free, it's huge. What about the stuff inside? What's the collection like? What makes NMK distinct there?
Good question. Because the collection itself is key. It's got around 440,000 items. And here's the thing. They're all Korean artifacts, spanning like 5,000 years.
All Korean.
All Korean. From ancient Goguryeo kingdom murals right up to Joseon dynasty white porcelain. Which, is a real point of contrast with, say, the British Museum, which, as one source pointed out, is full of artifacts from, well, other places.
Right. There's a definite pride there, isn't there, in having this collection that's purely their own heritage and then sharing it freely.
Exactly. That pride is a big part of it.
And it's not just about what's there, but how you experience it. I was really struck by this room of quiet contemplation. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds incredible. It's this very large space, about 4,600 square feet, but it only contains two statues, two pensive bodhisattvas.
Just two in that big space.
Just two. And the lighting. It's described as thousands of tiny lights on the ceiling, like stars. But maybe the most striking part, no glass cases.
Really? You can just walk right up to them. These are ancient artifacts, right?
1,500 years old. And yes, direct viewing, no barriers. Think about seeing the Mona Lisa, you're like 10 feet back. behind bulletproof glass. This is the complete opposite.
That's quite a statement. What does that kind of direct access, that whole atmosphere, tell us about how Koreans view museums, maybe compared to, say, the French view?
Well, connecting the dots, it suggests that for Koreans, museums aren't these sort of stuffy temples of culture. They seem to see them more as natural parts of everyday life, places for comfort, connection. The sources mention seeing grandparents telling stories to kids there, couples on dates, students just doing homework.
So really integrated into daily life, not just a special occasion visit.
Exactly. Culture woven right in.
Okay, and then there's this BTS effect. You can't talk about modern Korea without K-pop coming up somehow, right? How did RM fit into this museum story?
Right. It's quite something. So RM from BTS, he apparently bought a figurine of one of those pensive bodhisattvas from the museum shop.
Okay.
And that single purchase, it caused a 50-fold increase in traffic to the NMK's website, 50 times. Plus, a huge wave of global inquiries about buying that specific figurine.
Wow, just from him buying one.
Just from that. And there's a detail. I loved the team leader, Kim Mi-hun. She apparently spent 4 years perfecting that figurine's design to capture the original's feeling.
4 years on a figurine.
Yeah, it really shows this amazing bridge, doesn't it, between like super contemporary global pop culture and this 1,500-year-old traditional art. It got young people everywhere interested.
That's incredible. That kind of genuine connection seems key. But NMK isn't the only place doing interesting things, right?
Yeah.
We also looked at Museum Kimchi-kan. Totally different vibe, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, completely different, but equally fascinating in its own way. Museum Kimchi-kan is Korea's first museum dedicated entirely to kimchi. It's actually run by a food company, Pulmoni, as a kind of social contribution project.
A kimchi museum. What's the appeal there? Is it just looking at jars of kimchi?
Haha, no, it's much more than that. You can actually taste different kinds of kimchi, not just the standard red spicy kind, but things like white kimchi, stir-fried kimchi, stuff many foreigners might not know exists.
Ah, okay. Pasting is involved.
Definitely. And you also learn about kimjang, the whole culture around making and sharing kimchi together, which is actually a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage.
Right, kimjang. I've heard of that.
And there was this great little anecdote in one source about foreign visitors asking after their visit where they could buy specific Korean ingredients like anchovy sauce and glutinous rice paste.
So they're not just tasting, they're actually inspired to try making it themselves.
Yeah.
That shows some deep engagement.
Exactly. It's not just a quick look-see. And, this place isn't just a local curiosity. CNN and Ellie Decor have apparently named it one of the world's top food museums.
Huh. A food museum recognized globally. That's pretty cool.
It really is. And it makes you think, what actually drives people to visit museums in the first place? Beyond just, seeing cool stuff.
Right.
We looked at an empirical study that tried to pin down these factors.
Okay, what did the study find? What makes people decide to go, enjoy it, and want to come back?
Well, it identified several key things that positively influence whether people intend to visit, how satisfied they are, and if they become loyal visitors. These included aesthetics and architecture, so how the place looks and feels. Learning was important too. Also, intrinsic motivations like simple curiosity or wanting to relax, and extrinsic ones like it being a known tourist spot or seeing promotions. Cultural values played a role, and of course, service quality.
That makes sense. A mix of factors. Did the study say anything specific about, say, younger Koreans? Like millennials?
Yes, actually, that was quite interesting. It found that for Korean millennials visiting art museums, they tend to prioritize what the study called hedonic value.
Hedonic value, meaning
Meaning the pleasure, the aesthetics, the whole vibe and ambiance of the place. That seems to matter more to them than the utilitarian value, which would be more about, say, just learning facts.
So the experience itself is really paramount for them,
Uh-huh.
how it makes them feel, not just what information they get.
Exactly. The feeling, the atmosphere seems to be key.
That's a really important insight for museums anywhere, I think. Now, you mentioned the NMK, but the sources touched on other significant museums in Korea too, right? It's not just one standout institution.
Oh, definitely not. Korea has a really vibrant museum scene. There's the MMCA, the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art. They do cutting edge stuff, even incorporating K-pop visuals sometimes.
Okay.
Then you've got the Liam, which is the Samsung Museum of Art. That one mixes Korean antiquities with global contemporary art, and they have great multilingual guides. There's also the Dalla Museum, focusing on photography and design, often in converted traditional houses, hammocks.
Oh, cool. Using traditional architecture.
Yeah. And Museum Esan, which is up in the mountains. It combines art, architecture by Tadao Ando, and even meditation spaces out in nature. And for something really different, the Auraria Museum in Space uses this striking brutalist building for some pretty provocative installations. So there's huge diversity.
A real range then. And for foreign visitors trying to navigate all this, what practical things make these places easy to visit? You mentioned guides.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor in their growing international appeal. Most major museums, like NMK, have really good English captions alongside the Korean. Multilingual audio guides are common too. And guided tours in English, Chinese, Japanese, those are really popular. In fact, NMK saw participation in those foreign language tours jump by almost 30% just in the first half of 2024.
So they're actively making it easy for international visitors. That intention matters.
Absolutely. They're clearly welcoming the world.
Which brings us back to that free admission thing at NNK, especially for foreigners. You mentioned there's actually some debate about this within Korea.
Yes, there is. It's not universally agreed upon. Some people argue, reasonably perhaps, that maybe foreigners could pay a small fee, say 5,000 won, which is only a few dollars.
Why? What's the argument for charging?
Mostly for upkeep, maintenance, and maybe helping manage crowds, which can get large, as you can imagine. But then you have many others who fiercely defend the free policy, sticking to that culture is air idea.
And their core argument is,
It really comes down to national pride again. Pride in that collection being purely Korean, not looted, and wanting to offer it as a gift, a symbol of national identity, freely accessible to everyone.
that's a powerful stance.
Ah.
Okay, but from a purely practical economic angle, giving away entry seems counterintuitive. Are there actually any surprising economic benefits to this free policy?
Yes. And this is where it gets really interesting. The free museum entry seems to create this positive ripple effect in the local economy. Think about it. If tourists save money on the museum ticket, they have more to spend elsewhere nearby.
Ah, okay, like in shops and restaurants.
Exactly. One source mentioned hanbok rental shops near NMK going from just 2 or 3 customers a day to over 100. Restaurants nearby also see more business. So the free museum actually acts as an economic engine for the surrounding area, making the overall trip more affordable and spreading the tourist spending around.
Huh, that's smart. A kind of indirect investment. It's a long game strategy, maybe?
It definitely seems like it. Which fits with the final piece. We looked at director Jin Hong-ru's big ambition. He's 67, and he calls this his last mission. A huge K-Art 5,000 Years world tour.
A world tour of Korean art.
Yeah. The plan is to take major exhibitions showcasing 5,000 years of Korean art to big global cities, New York, Paris, London, Berlin. He doesn't just see it as an art show, though. He calls it cultural diplomacy.
cultural diplomacy.
meaning using art to show the deep historical roots behind the current K-culture wave, BTS, Parasite, Squid Game. It's about saying, look, this global phenomenon didn't come from nowhere. It's built on millennia of rich heritage, capitalizing on that spotlight, but giving it depth.
That is incredibly ambitious. Wow. How's that vision being received internationally, especially in those established, maybe slightly traditional European cultural capitals? Was it an easy sell?
Not exactly. Clara, the Louvre curator we mentioned, the source details her struggle trying to even pitch this idea to her colleagues back in Paris.
Really? What was the pushback?
Apparently, a lot of skepticism, prejudice even, a sort of Western-centric view that just dismissed Korean art as like, oh, it's probably similar to Chinese or Japanese art, or simply unknown and therefore not important enough for the Louvre.
Ouch. That sounds frustrating.
Deeply frustrating, I imagine. But what's telling is Clara's own conviction. Despite that initial rejection, she apparently believes firmly that, quote, when the time comes, they will seek it out first.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? That resilience, that confidence in the value of their own culture, even when facing skepticism.
It really does. It underscores this whole Korean approach, proactive, confident, and playing the long game on the world stage.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway here for you listening in? We've seen that Korean museums aren't just, quiet buildings full of old things. They're dynamic, they're alive. They embody this really profound idea about sharing culture openly.
Yeah, they use modern tools, digital stuff, even K-pop connections to make ancient history feel relevant and accessible to a global audience. It's this really interesting mix of deep pride in their own long history and this incredibly open, welcoming spirit towards the world.
Absolutely. And that journey from offering free access at home to planning these ambitious global tours, it leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on.
Right. If culture truly is like air, as director Jin says, how should a nation measure its cultural strength? Is it just about what it owns or what it can sell? Or is it maybe measured by how freely, how generously it shares its unique heritage with everyone?
What does that really mean for being a true cultural superpower in the 21st century? Something to think about.
That's a wrap for today's Culture English. If you learned something new, smash that like button and subscribe for more Korean culture and English tips. See you in the next video.